Happy Thursday morning. Happy, beautiful fall Thursday morning. Just coming into a nice comfortable seat. If you are, as some of you expressed, some low back tightness or, some hip tenderness, pay attention to the way you set yourself up here. Shifting which leg is in front can be helpful. Sitting on blocks or blankets, or even kind of make yourself a nice little throne here for your first posture of the morning. Just sticking props wherever feels comfortable. And then bring your arms to rest, or hands to rest on the legs. Palms down is going to be more grounding. So if your day has already started, full tilt and you need to ground before practice, go right ahead and do that. If you greeted us with a yawn this morning, maybe palms up is a little more uplifting. But palms up is also receptive. So if you've been kind of hesitant with things or struggling with things, maybe kind of turning that palms up and inviting your body to be open to them, inviting your mind to be open to them. And then just close your eyes and check in with your breath. Nice, smooth, steady breaths. Endeavoring to have the length of your inhale last as long as your exhale. If you would like to put that slight constriction in the back of your throat to create a whisper-like sound when you breathe, inviting that ujjayi breath, go ahead and do that. And go ahead and bring your hands to heart center. Bow your heads down. And if you haven't already, set an intention for your practice. Take a nice big deep breath in. Fill the body with breath as if to spread that intention around. Exhale, let the breath out. Maybe give it a little sigh. Blink your eyes open. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Palms face one another. Just imagine you're holding a yoga block. Maybe it's actually a little bit wider than a yoga block over your head. Press into that imaginary space. Think about driving your triceps, so the backs of the arms forward as you reach the fingertips up, thumbs back. Notice if taking the arms up kind of pulls your whole chest forward. Front bottom ribs kind of drop down, knit in so that your spine's lifting straight up, not arching. Take a nice big deep breath in here. And then exhale, we're gonna drop the right hand onto the floor. Lift the left arm up, reach through that left side. Take a nice big deep breath in here. And then exhale, circle that left arm forward. Inhale, come back up, sweep both arms up. Hold that imaginary block over your head, or 2 blocks. Press into that space, circle the triceps forward, thumbs back, fingertips up, breathe in here. And then exhale, you're gonna let left hand go down. Reach through that right arm. Reach as big as you can. And then exhale, circle that hand towards the floor. Come on up. Inhale, palms press the imaginary space. Lift your spine tall, and then from here, interlace your fingers, flip your palms up to the sky, and just shift around a little bit. Side to side, maybe front to back. If you'd like to, you can switch the lineup of your feet in this position. And then we'll drop the hands forward. Take a nice rounded spine like you're doing cat pose. Belly button pulls back, hands press forward. Back of the neck is nice and long. And then inhale, come on up. Lift the chest, lengthen the spine. Exhale, release your arms. Make your way to hands and knees. Good, and then just take some little movements here, whatever feels good. You can do some hip circles, kind of painting circles on the mat. Noticing as you kind of swoop the hips out to the side, you probably should feel some stretch on that outer hip, maybe going down the leg. If anything feels particularly tight, feel free to kind of stay in that spot. Maybe sway the hips a little bit front to back in one of those tight spots. After you take a couple loops around, then switch direction and go the other way. Checking out left side versus right. And then come back to center, curl your toes under, press your hips back. So we kind of do a downward dog with a child's pose with a little foot stretch. Press back into the feet. Inhale, come forward, put those toenails all the way down. Exhale, press back, more like your regular child's pose. Big deep breath in here. And then go ahead, come forward. Let's do that little foot stretch. Curl the toes under, press the heels back. Inhale, come forward. Tops of the feet press down. Press your hips back towards your heels. Settle into this. Take a nice big deep breath and kind of pay attention to your low back in this position. Dropping your hips towards your heels will usually give you more of a stretch, but if that causes tension, feel free to stay up a little bit. And then I want you to focus on your breathing. Feel like that inhale can come all the way down to kind of the sides of the low back. And then the exhale rides all the way back up. 2 more like that. Big deep breath in. Exhale, let it out. 1 more breath in. Now from this child's pose, we'll take just a little bit of a twist. So right hand is going to stay on the floor. I'm kind of extending it out in front of me. If your shoulders feel tight, put that hand on a block or a blanket. You're going to take the left hand, palm faces up, and slide it through. So you're kind of bringing your left ear towards the floor. And now if your neck is tight, you can also put something underneath your head. And just take a couple slow, easy breaths here. I would say keeping the right arm kind of active. And then almost imagining that left arm can sink down into the floor, like the weight of your arm bones could kind of pull a little extra stretch on the outside and the back of that left shoulder. The further you walk the right hand forward, usually the more stretch you're going to get through that right side of the back. And then let's go ahead and switch. So decide if you want any kind of props. Left hand might be up on something. Right hand comes palm facing up, and you're going to slide that right hand through. Seeing how far both hands can travel in either direction. And if you did so on the other side, maybe putting a little cushion or a block underneath your right side of your head. Keep the left arm kind of active, walking it forward to increase that left side stretch. Left butt is really dropping down towards the heel. And then try to just let the weight of the right arm sink into the floor. Take a breath in here. And then exhale, go ahead, unwind, come back up to hands and knees. We're going to extend the right leg long behind. And then I want you to pick up that right foot and swing it over to the left. So you're kind of crossing behind that left foot. And then just let your right hip drop over to the right. So you kind of twist a little bit, not twist here, but hinge the side a little bit. So we get a nice big stretch anywhere through probably this right side rib all the way to the outside of the right knee. And the more you push into that right foot, like push that into the ground and then push those hips more right, usually we're going to get a better outer hip stretch. 1 more here. And then go ahead, come back to center. So right knee's coming down. You're gonna pick up the left foot, extend it long behind you, and then sweep it over to the right. So now the left foot pushes into the floor, the left hip drops left. Take some nice big breaths, especially feeling that left side of the rib cage kind of open up and pull against this stretch. By the way, some people will also feel this a lot on the hip of the standing knee too, just because that's kind of supporting your whole body. Just kind of noticing where this is, outer hips, in the legs, maybe up to the ribs. Inhale. And then exhale, go ahead, come back, hands and knees. Let's curl the toes, lift the hips, come into a downward dog. Pedal the knees a little bit. If your low back is irritated, I encourage you to keep the knees bent a little bit so that we're not overly stretching some cranky muscles. Draw the heels towards the floor, the femur bones back in space. Feel those hamstrings open up. And then go ahead, walk your feet towards your hands, coming into a forward fold. Drop your head, give it a little shake, and then roll yourself up to stand. Go ahead and you're gonna hold your strap, probably something in the neighborhood of, 3.5 feet across. So what you wanna do is be able to take that strap overhead and then bring that strap behind you in kind of an easy flowing motion. Inhale up, exhale, pull back. Now somewhere back here, there's going to be some resistance. So if you find that you need to bend your elbows or shimmy your arms through, make your straps wider. You want to feel the resistance, but you want to be able to get in there or through it kind of cleanly, all right? So then what I want you to think about is our mountain pose, all right? I'm wearing a bad shirt, it's kind of flowy here. Rib cage is right over pelvis. Your shoulders pull back in space, not forward, but notice when you pull those shoulders back, sometimes the ribs flare forward, so I want you to keep your ribs knitting down. And then just check, your hips should be right over your heels, knees softly bent so you're not locking them out. And we're gonna add some breath, so this counts as real yoga. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. And then exhale, drop your hands back behind you. So if I'm giving you the side view of me, because what I want you to see is that really, this looks like just my arms are moving in my shoulder sockets, for the most part. Inhale, sweep that strap up. Exhale, draw the strap back behind you. Inhale, sweep it up. Exhale, draw forward. Inhale, come up. Exhale, pull back. Most people find that when you do a couple repetitions of this, it gets a little bit easier. So if you wanted to scoot your hands a little closer together, you can. We'll do 2 more like that. Inhale up. Exhale back. You scooched your hands. Notice that resistance spot behind you might get a little bit stickier, as we like to say. All right, this time you're going to go up, and then you're just going to go back, and you're going to hang out in that spot of resistance. So I want you to pull against your strap like you're trying to rip it in half. Notice if your neck muscles or those upper shoulder muscles tense up, relax them. Feel like your shoulder blades are pushing into your rib cage, and your rib cage is pushing back as you pull on this strap. And as you continue breathing in that nice even pace that we set at the beginning of practice, and then go ahead, bring the hands down. Whew. We're gonna go back up into one of those little resistance spots. So inhale up. It's probably gonna be a lower spot now. See, my hands are more about shoulder height. This one, especially on me. See how my neck wants to come forward? Keep the neck nice and long, not trying to tense up the muscles. Ribs right over pelvis. Knees are still soft. Abs are working a little bit here to hold you. This is mountain pose, yoga pose. We just added some funky arms. Breathe while trying to rip that mat or that strap. And then go ahead, bring the arms up. Bring that strap forward. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Exhale, fold yourself forward. Bring your hands onto your shins. Inhale, lengthen your spine, tailbone back, chest forward. Exhale, let's step our right foot back, coming into a lunge. Feel free to use blocks on any of these lunges. From here, we're gonna walk our hands up onto that front thigh. Check in with your pelvis. You want your right hip coming forward in space, your left hip going back. Inhale, sweep your arms up. So palms are facing one another. They can be wide again, as if you're holding a couple yoga blocks in between your hands. Press into that imaginary space between your hands. Triceps spin forward, thumbs point back. Take a nice big deep breath in here. And then exhale, we'll bring our hands back down to floor or blocks. And we'll move this left leg towards straight. Pull the left hip back in space, reach the chest forward so we get a nice big stretch through that left hamstring. Breathe, nice easy breath. If you want extra stretch, you can pick up the ball of the left foot. And then go ahead and put that foot back down. Rebend the knee. Let's step back into a high plank. Take a breath in here. Exhale, come all the way down to the floor. Uncurl your toes. Hands line up with the lower third of the rib cage. Pull your elbows towards one another. Inhale, lift your chest. Lengthen your spine. Crown of the head is reaching up and forward, not back. Chest is reaching up and forward. Exhale, press into the ground. Step back, downward dog. Let's do those on the other side. Right leg's gonna come up. Step it all the way forward, coming into a lunge. Come up, high lunge. Check in with your hips. Left hip pulls forward, right hip pulls back. Sink down into this. Extend the spine. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Holding those imaginary yoga blocks. Press the palms towards one another. Thumbs pull back, triceps reach forward, chest lifts. Take a nice big deep breath in here. And then exhale, hands come back down to the floor or the blocks. We're moving the right leg towards straight. Pull that right leg back. Again, check in with your low back as we straighten that front leg. The back kind of likes to round a little. So you're working on staying long and extended as you straighten that right leg. Collarbones are wide, chest is open. Soft little bend in that front knee. You're gonna step the left foot forward. Nice deep fold. Inhale, come on up to stand, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, mountain pose. Take a pause. Forward. So just walk to a wall. And you're gonna start putting your left hand on the wall. And again, I want you to think about mountain pose. We tend to kind of go lean. I want you to be really tall. Ribs right over pelvis. Heels underneath the hips. Knees softly bent. Shoulders kind of pull back in space. And your shoulder blades are dropping down. Press that left palm into the wall. And press hard, as if you're trying to move the wall. My elbow point is pointing down. And my chest is lifting up. Take a nice big deep breath in here. Get all of your knuckles touching the wall. And then turn and look over your right shoulder. It's really basic, but we're trying to get that shoulder blade in its, or the whole shoulder joint kind of in its optimal position. Maybe getting a little bit of stretch in that front pec area. It might not feel like a ton. You should feel some work kind of around this left shoulder blade if you're really working on getting that shoulder blade to kind of slide down your back and press into your ribs. Good, take another breath here. And then you're gonna take that hand that's on the wall and you're gonna turn it backwards. So your fingertips are pointing behind you. Still try to get the elbow to drop down. Still try to get your shoulder blade to move down the back of your body. Stand up tall. Press into the wall, look right. Sometimes there can be some, tingly, nervy feelings, circulation feelings going down the hand and the forearm. It's not completely out of the normal, especially when we have a lot of shoulder or elbow or wrist tension. So if you get a lot of tingly sensation, feel free to come out of this and come back in. See what you can tolerate. And then go ahead and take that hand off the wall. Shake it out a little bit. If you're doing this exercise and thinking to yourself, like, I must be doing this wrong. This is too easy. Maybe you just have better shoulders than the rest of us. Right hand is on the wall. Fingertips point up. Elbow point is pointing towards the ground. And I'm really working on getting that shoulder blade to hug my rib cage as I sit up tall or stand up tall. Good. How many of those knuckles of the right hand can push into the wall? Push firmly. Also, if you don't feel very much sensation in this exercise that is stretch related, think about the work part of it. It's all these little small muscles that kind of ring the shoulder blade that you want working. You want them activating to keep your shoulder in position as you push, because as you push out, the shoulder most time wants to drop forward. You're holding it back. Again, maybe you're looking over the opposite shoulder while you do this. And then go ahead, switch your hands. So now your right fingertips point back behind you. Extend the spine nice and tall. Look left. Especially as you look left, notice if that right shoulder kind of pulled forward. Good. Then go ahead, take your hand off the wall. Give it a little shake. Refine our mountain pose at the top of the mat. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, fold forward nice and deeply. Hands around the shins. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step the left foot back, coming into a nice deep lunge. Left foot's on the floor, left hand's on the floor, right hand lifts up in space. Take that right thumb, turn it towards the back heel, drop that arm behind your back. So I'm pushing my right hand into my left hip or my left low back. Feel that right shoulder blade press into the rib cage when I do that. See if you can twist a little more. Big deep breath in here. And then you're gonna push into the ground. Exhale, unwind, open up warrior two. I'm sure it was very graceful however you did that. We'll do a couple of those little sweeping transitions today. Left hip pulls forward in space. Right knee pulls forward. You want to be flat, kind of across the pelvis and the shoulders, coming into this warrior two variation, or warrior two. Check in with the shoulders. If you turn your palms up, feel how your shoulders drop down, keep them down, and then just flip the hands back over. From here, we'll straighten that right leg, reach the right hand forward, right hand down, left hand goes up, coming into a triangle pose. Look down in this triangle pose. So we kind of take the pressure off the neck, maybe even shake the head a little bit. Lift that left arm up to the sky. Rotate the left thumb to face the left heel, and then drop that arm behind that back. Same thing as we did in the twist. Press your hand into your back, and then feel like that left shoulder blade kind of presses into the left rib cage. From here, we're going to rebend that right knee. Inhale, sweep the right arm up and back, coming into a little radiant warrior with a little extra shoulder stretch. Exhale, hands to the ground. Step back, high plank. Your choice. You're either going down halfway or all the way to the floor. Inhaling up, upward facing dog or small cobra. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Nice easy breath in here. We're gonna lift the left leg up. Exhale, bring that left foot all the way forward between the hands. Right hand staying on the floor or the block. We're gonna twist. Left arm's going up. Take that left thumb, spin it back. Drop that arm behind your back. Press your left hand into your right hip or right side of the low back and feel that left shoulder blade hug onto the ribs. Your choice if you're looking down or up, whatever feels better on your neck. Take a breath in here. All right, we're gonna do that little transition. Push into the feet, come up, sweep the hands around, warrior two. Drop your shoulders down. You can do that little hand check. Hips sink, spine reaches up. Taking a breath in here. Then we're gonna straighten the left leg, reach forward with the left hand, and then bring it down. You're finding the shin or your block. Right hand goes up. So let's look down here, maybe even shake your head out a little bit, feel the neck relax. Take that top arm, rotate it, so your thumb points towards the back heel, drop that arm behind the back again. Right hand is pressing into the left hip or the left low back. Feel that right shoulder blade engage when you do that. From here, we're gonna bend the left knee, sink into this. Inhale, lift the left arm way up, sweep it back. Breath into the left side ribs. And then exhale, bring your hands to the ground. Step the back foot forward, top of the mat, fold. Roll yourself on up to stand, sweeping the arms up. And then bringing the hands back to heart center. One more exercise with your strap. Go ahead and grab it. All right. So holding the strap kind of the same way that we did before when we were doing this up and down, but now we're going to do almost like a figure 8 type action. So you're going to, let's start with the left arm. I'll give you the side view. Actually, this might make more sense. I'm going to inhale. I'm bringing my left arm up and sweeping it back. And that's going to pull my right hand back. Once I get my hands behind me, I'm going to exhale, lift my right hand up, pull the strap forward. Inhale, sweep the left arm back behind you. Exhale, sweep the right arm forward. Inhale, sweep back. Exhale, sweep forward. Again, it's mountain pose. You're trying to keep your rib cage, your back, your knees as mountain-like, statuesque as possible. Good. Now that you've just gotten into that rhythm, let's switch the order. So start with your arms in front of you. The right arm's gonna lead. Inhale, pull that right arm back, drop it behind you. Exhale, left hand comes forward. Inhale, right arm goes back. Exhale, left arm comes forward. Keep doing that. Notice, especially if you maybe spent the summer in a tennis clinic or some other upper body dominant activities, or even just from being in your computer, this can be a really noisy exercise. You might hear a lot of things happening in your shoulders. So it's okay, those little clicks and pops are okay as long as they don't come with pain. So just be aware of that. Also be aware of one direction being easier than the other. Okay, release the arms. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, go ahead, fold yourself forward. Bring your hands to your shins. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Let's step back with the left foot. And let's bring the arms inside the right foot. So you might heel toe that right foot out to the side. We'll bring the left knee down to the ground. Lift your chest, lengthen your spine. Good. From here, I'm just turning a little so you can see. Right knee goes out to the side, and then draw that right knee in. Drop it out to the side, and pull it in. One more time, drop it out to the side. Good, pull that knee in. Pick up your right toes, turn them out to the side. As the toes go out, that right knee might go out a little more. Again, this can be on blocks if you want to as well. Chest forward, collarbones wide. Nice big deep breath in here. And then we're gonna pick up the right foot, put the right toes to point forward again, and then pick up the left knee. Circle your left heel to the ground and bring yourself up to a warrior two. Lengthen your spine, lift your chest. Left hip pulls forward, right knee pulls forward. So check out where our right knee, we kind of want it moving towards the right pinky toe. And then you're gonna hinge from the hips and you're gonna walk your hands out on maybe like a 45-degree angle. Right knee tries to keep going forward, hands walk out. My hands are wider than my shoulders here because that's easier on my shoulders. I'm circling my triceps towards the floor and trying to drop my chest towards the floor. Coming into my favorite Warrior II exercise. This is a lot of stretch through this outer hip for most people. Okay, walk your hands back in. Lift that back heel back up. Go ahead, step back, high plank. Bring your knees to the ground. And let's do those hip circles again that we did at the very beginning of practice. Chest forward, inhale. Exhale, circle back into the right. So we were just opening up that right hip. Notice how that feels when you go out. Do a couple of those. Good. Back to all fours. So we're going to extend the right leg long behind us just like we did before. Circle or kind of sweep that right foot to the left and then do that little side stretch. So you're kind of looking over your left shoulder and you're really pressing your right hip out to the right. 3 big breaths here. And then you might stay here. This might be good enough. Or you're going to bring your right knee towards the back of your left knee, and then you're going to shift your hips back. So it's almost like you're going into your child's pose. I wonder if you can see this. But your legs are crossed. So legs are crossed, and you're shifting your hips back. You might not get back very far. You might get back all the way. Once you get back there, go ahead and do a little wiggle with your hips side to side. Good. And then we'll come forward, uncross the legs. I've traveled off my yoga mat. I'm coming back to my yoga mat. Curl your toes, lift your hips, downward dog. Just pedal them out a little bit. See how that feels. And then we're going to go the other side. So you're going to lift your left leg and you're going to step it forward between your hands. I'm going to turn around real quick. Yeah, so left knee is right over the left ankle. We're bringing the right knee down onto the floor. Hands inside that left leg. Chest reaches forward, shoulders reach back. And you'll do those little movements. Left knee out and then draw it in. Drop it out, and then draw it in. A couple more breaths like that. Good, and then pick up those left toes, turn them out to the side on an angle. So the left toes are pointing out, the left knee points out, chest reaches forward, so we get a nice big stretch through that inner thigh. And then bring those left toes to point forward again. You're going to pick up your right knee and you're going to drop that right heel to the ground. Sweep yourself up, Warrior II. Check in with your hips. Drive that right hip towards the left knee forward. Collarbones are wide, chest is open. So try to keep these legs exactly as they are. As you bring your hands towards the floor, walk those hands out, coming to that Warrior II meets downward dog. Chest towards the floor. Tailbone towards the sky, just like downward dog. And then walk your hands back to the left foot. We're going to step back, all fours. Go counterclockwise on your circles now. So bring your chest forward, sweep that left hip way back, and then circle it around to the right. Just do a couple of those. Checking in, noticing how different the sensation might be versus the first time we did this. And then we're going to come back to center. You're gonna pick up the left leg, extend it long behind you, and then boop, sweep it over to the right. Look over your right shoulder. Drive that right heel back in space. Toes kick out to the side. Look over your right shoulder and drive through that left heel. Left hip is sinking over to the left, so we get that nice big stretch to the outside. And then from here, you're gonna take that long leg and bend the knee and just kind of press that left leg into that right leg and start to shift yourself back into this child's pose with crossed knees. And again, you might not get very far back. And you might want to just play with your hips in space, give them a little swing side to side. And then inhale, go ahead, come forward, uncross the legs. Let's go into a wide knee child's pose. Knees wide, toes touch. Just shift your hips back. Walk your arms forward, drop your belly, drop your head towards the ground. And take 5 slow, deep breaths here. And then we'll walk our hands back up. And let's come back to hands and knees. We're gonna do some modified side planks. So you're gonna extend your right leg back behind you and then drop your right heel towards the floor. Pick up your left foot and then just kind of pivot that left foot behind you so that your left leg kind of acts like a kickstand and the right leg is long. Right arm's gonna lift up high to the sky. Shoulders pull back in space, lift your chest. And then let's do some nice big swoops, the old yoga air guitar with that right arm. Big circular motions. Just like that strap exercise, this might be noisy. So pay attention to your shoulder. If it feels noisy, you can shift a little bit. Check one direction versus the other. One might be much easier to get into. And then we're gonna just reach that right arm overhead. From here, keep your left knee on the ground. We're gonna lift your right leg off the floor to about hip height. So it's a lot of work on these outer hip muscles. Notice if your toes turn up or turn down. You're trying to keep a nice straight leg. By the way, it also is hard on this bottom hip muscle because we're stabilizing the pelvis and we're really strengthening from the outside of the hips. We're gonna do little taps down, little taps up, little tap down, little tap up. Good, 2 more. And then we're gonna do the foot down on the ground. From here, come up to stand. So you're standing on your left knee, you're gonna lift your left arm up. Just like we did at the beginning of class, pretend it's kind of pressing into a yoga block. And then lean over to the right. Notice if you collapse on this right side. Feel like your right shoulder can lift away from your right hip just as much as the left shoulder is. Good, take a nice big deep breath in here. And then exhale, bring your hand down. Step that right knee in so the knees are close to one another. We're just gonna do a little mini camel pose. Thumbs are on the sacrum. Pull your elbows back in space, lift your chest. If your low back feels tender here, pull your belly button towards your spine and use more of your glute muscles than your low back muscles to kind of help support the spine as it starts to pull back in this direction. One more breath in. And then go ahead and come back to standing. We're just gonna switch legs. So left leg is gonna go out to the side. Right hand comes down to the ground. Left hand goes up. Shoulders pull back. You want to press into that left foot. And we're going to do our big giant air guitars. Check in with that shoulder, see how it sounds. Pull back. It's ironic that I'm referring to this as the air guitar because one of my shoulders sounds like a drum kit. All right, and then reach that hand overhead. You can keep it here or bring it onto your hip, whatever feels more stable. We're gonna do those lifts. My left foot is coming off the ground. I'm trying to stay parallel to the ground, so I'm not turning at all. And I'm just gonna do a couple of lifts. Notice if that right hip tries to recede back, you're driving your right hip forward, not letting it drop back. Good, go ahead, put that foot on the ground. Shift up, reach over. Same thing, try not to let that left shoulder collapse too much. Left shoulder's lifting out of the hip, so we have more room to reach through that right hand. Thumb pulled back in space. Big deep breath across the ribs. And then go ahead and come back. Let's bring that left knee in. One more camel pose. This time you can go a little bit deeper. If you know that camel tends to hurt your low back, grab a block or a pillow and put that between your legs. So it reminds you to add duck to kind of squeeze in. The other thing you want to think about doing is not letting the feet come together and the knees splay out. Keep the legs, the lower legs, like they're train tracks. I'm starting with thumbs on my sacrum. I'm kind of like pushing my thumbs into my low back and then down, almost like I'm trying to move that butt flesh down. And then I'm leaning back here. My chest is lifting up. Shoulder blades are moving towards one another. Elbows moving towards one another. If you've got space to grab your heels, or maybe grab isn't the right word, as my fingertips are just kind of balancing delicately on them. Chest lifts up. Think about hugging the inner thighs in towards one another. Knees hug in towards one another. One more big deep breath in here. And then as you exhale, come up with control. You add something between your legs. Take it out. Come to hands and knees. And actually, we're going to round the spine. See if you can bring the top of your head towards the floor. Maybe hands grab the feet here. Just as a nice, it's really hard to talk in this position. I think it's called rabbit pose. Nice counter pose to that camel pose. You're lifting your belly button up towards the sky. Nice big stretch for the low back. And then go ahead and release your hands to the ground. Come on up. Take a nice big deep breath in here. And then we're going to come onto the floor, onto our backs, and have your strap nearby. So one more little set of stretches with those straps. My favorite group of hip stretches. We're going to start with the strap around the right foot. So the further up the foot it goes, closer to the toes, usually the more stretch you're going to get in your calf too. The hamstring's usually pretty obvious. So you're going to hold the strap in your left hand around your right foot. Take your right thumb, stick it in your right hip crease because you want to use that to kind of push your right hip down towards your left foot. If you've got space, extend your left leg long. Notice when the left leg lengthens on the floor, the right hip tries to hike up. So you're driving that right hip towards your left foot. Left toes lift to the sky. You might be able to scooch that right foot a little further up towards the head. Just make sure that that right hip isn't following. And then we're going to go across. You're going to bring that right foot over to the left. Notice if your right hip is coming off the ground. You really want to press your right hip down into the floor as you move that leg across. Chest is open. Collarbones are wide. And then play with the position. See how I'm kind of moving where my right foot is? I'm keeping my right hip anchoring towards the ground, but I'm changing, and instead of being up high close to my shoulder, I'm going a little closer to that left foot. In my hip, that takes the stretch from hamstring a little bit more to the side outer hip, kind of glute and IT band neighborhood. It might not feel exactly the same in yours, so you want to play with that. And then also in this position, I think it feels fantastic to wave your ankle like you're on a pageant float and you're doing that little pageant wave, but with your foot. And that just takes that stretch all the way up the leg for me. And then we'll bend the left knee, put your right ankle over your left knee, right knee is moving away from you. You can keep that left foot on the ground, or you can draw it in towards your body and hold the left leg with your hands. Right knee's moving away from the body, left knee's moving towards the body. That's going to increase that stretch on the outside of the right hip, possibly the inside of the right hip too. And then go ahead and put that foot on the floor. Uncross, both knees are down on the ground. We're just going to switch sides. So the strap goes around the left foot. You want to scooch the strap up towards the ball of the feet and then grab hold of the strap with your right hand. Take your left thumb, whoosh, hook it in that left hip crease. So you're kind of keeping your pelvis in a neutral position, and then we're going to straighten the right leg long on the mat. Press through that left heel and drive that left hip towards the right heel. Maybe you've got a little more space to bring that foot forward. Notice how the sides often feel a lot different. A little extra flexing of that left ankle is also going to make this stretch more intense. The other thing you can notice with the strap is if your foot kind of turns in one direction or the other here, you're really trying to keep your toes like flush to the floor. All right, and then we're going to keep that left hip down and send the left leg over to the right. Starting in this first position that maybe is similar to where your hamstring stretch was, but now we just add a little bit of the outside of the hip. If that feels pinchy, definitely go lower. I like to go lower because then I get more of this kind of glute and IT stretch going. Maybe do that little wave of your foot, the pageant float wave. Keep that left hip dropping towards the floor. And then we'll bring that left knee in, and you're going to bring your left ankle onto your right knee. Left knee's moving away from the body. Maybe the right leg lifts up and you pull the right leg in for some extra, or just to get a little deeper into that stretch. Outer left hip, possibly inner left hip. And then uncross, put both feet on the floor, and we're gonna do feet together, knees out. So this bound angle, Baddha Konasana shape. If when your knees drop out, we're gonna do it laying down. If when they drop out, it gets really intense on the inner thighs, grab blocks or something, or couch cushions, so that they can be like a little break. So as your knees go out, they don't go all the way out as far as the body would allow. It stops a little bit before. You still want to feel a little bit of stretch, but not an overwhelming sense of stretch. Arms out to the side, palms up. The other thing these blocks can do is, the tendency is when the knees go way out, the low back kind of arches up, the belly lifts up. So that's going to keep you, if you put the blocks under the knees before you get to that position, that puts the back in a little more of a neutral position. And then go ahead, bring your knees together. Take a little pause here. Then maybe bring your knees up to your chest, give them a squeeze, take a little pause there. And then you're gonna stretch your legs out long. I'm taking those blocks that were under the outside of my knee and just shifting them so they can be underneath the knees in this position. Also, that usually makes Shavasana a little more comfortable if the low back feels pressure. Other options, if your shoulders are bothering you, maybe you want to pad up and put a pillow under your head. Get where you feel comfortable. Bring your awareness to your breath one more time and just see if you've still got that nice even flow of in and out. Invite a little movement back into your bodies. Wiggle fingers or toes. Roll wrists or ankles. And then slowly come up and sit. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Draw your hands through heart center. Just bow your heads. Taking a moment. I see some days are already starting to start, but just holding this space for a breath or two longer. And then we'll end here. Namaste. Thanks, everyone.